Hey everybody, it's Michelle. I'm out in the forest today because today I came out to find one of my favorite remedies, and that is Usnea, also known as old man's beard. The reason it's known as old man's beard is because it kind of looks like an old man's beard when you hang it up on your face. This will grow from branches. Typically it grows on higher branches of trees. You can also find it growing along the trunks of trees. This is a lichen, and so because it's a lichen, it's very similar to mushrooms in that regard. And if you know anything about mushrooms, mushrooms typically grow in the forest anyway on dead wood. And the way to find it is, like I said, find it hanging from trees, but one of my favorite ways to find it is to actually look for fallen branches that has it on there, because it's a really great way to then allow the lichen of Usnea that you find on the tree to continue to grow. And if there's a dead branch that has a bunch of it on there, you might as well just use the stuff that has fallen because it's just sitting there on the ground. One of the greatest ways to know that you have Usnea is to, okay, I'm going to try and get this on the camera. There is a white, almost elastic-like band that's underneath the green part of the Usnea. I hope you can see that. I think you can. And if it comes up too close, it won't focus. But you can pull the green part away and you will be able to see the white tip underneath the green. That is the indicator for Usnea, because Usnea has a lot of lookalikes. Sometimes you might be walking through the forest and you'll see some hanging moss and you might think, oh, that must be Usnea, but the way to know is to pull that away. There you go, that's a good one. You can kind of see it better. There it is. Okay, so there'll be that white, it just looks like a white thread, and it's kind of elastic-like. When you pull it, you'll feel like a little bit of resistance. That is a great indicator for Usnea. Usnea grows in areas where the air quality is very good. It's sometimes referred to as the lungs of the forest, and that is one of the indicators in Doctrine of Signatures to tell you that it's actually very good for the lungs. It's very good for the bronchial tubes and the lungs and chest region in general, especially if you have any sort of congestion that is really thick, really heavy, really boggy, and really wet. It helps to break it up because it's really great at fighting off harmful bacteria in the body. Another thing that Usnea is really great for is boosting the ability of the lymphatic system. So it also looks a little bit like the lymphatic system inside of our body. The lymphatic system is all over our body, concentrated in certain areas, but it almost kind of looks like this spindly sort of, I don't know, what would you even say it looks like? It's just spindly and it looks like threads. That's the word I'm looking for. Looks thread-like, and that's what the lymphatic system looks like throughout our entire body. So this will really help to get the lymph fluids moving and move any sort of foreign bacteria or infection that you might be experiencing. If you're detoxing from something, Usnea will really help with that. I find it to be really great because you can use it as an herbal bandage. If you were to, say, fall and cut your knee open while you're on a hike, you can find some Usnea and actually put it right onto the wound until you get to a spot where you can clean the wound and bandage it up, because it will protect the wound and it will also begin the healing process, because it's going to help bring the healthy blood to the area and the healthy lymph to the area, and your body will start to heal itself just like it's meant to do. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to show you really quickly how you can make a tincture out of this. And I brought all my supplies so that I could do that for you guys. And yeah, let's get to it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to need a glass jar. Any glass jar will do. This is an old honey jar. I just grabbed it. One of the other things I want to show you is that you can see there's like some bark on the back here. That's where this Usnea was attached to the tree. And if you look closely too, there's another lichen that's right here, has a very similar color to Usnea, but it is not Usnea, and it's more flat. It's more of a flat lichen. So what you'll do is you would just pull that off, send it back to the mother, take off any pieces of wood that you see, and get your jar. And literally, you can just start breaking up this Usnea and putting it right into the jar. So this is going to be made similar to a medicinal mushroom tincture. So if you've ever made a tincture of, let's say, reishi mushroom, what you do is you make a double extraction of that mushroom, because mushrooms and lichens like Usnea have both alcohol soluble properties and water soluble properties. Lots of plants do. But typically the lichens and mushrooms, anything that's hardier and more wood-like and tends to grow on wood, has that property. So what I'll do with this tincture is, I'm getting Usnea all over me. That's okay. I don't mind Usnea. So what I'll do with this is, once I have this going and it's been macerating, which means basically infusing and soaking for 4 to 6 weeks. I like to go 6 weeks. I will strain off the Usnea and I'll compost that. Well, I won't compost it yet. What I will do though is I'll create a water bath. So I will boil this down and make what's called a decoction, which is a long simmered tea. And then I will add that back to the alcohol, and I will do equal parts, maybe a little less, probably like 40% alcohol or 40% water, 60% alcohol, to make sure that it preserves itself very well. And then you'll add them together, and then you have a double extraction, which is a very potent tincture, because you are then going to have the water and alcohol soluble properties of the plant. All right, so I've got my jar pretty much all full. And you know, if there's a little pieces of wood, it's okay, but if you're very particular, you can take those out and just pull them off. So you have your glass jar all full with Usnea, and then 100 proof vodka. This is my favorite way to make tinctures. I use 100 proof vodka because typically anyone who's using grain alcohol or something that's 190 proof, typically they're adding water to that so that they can get a 50% alcohol to 50% water. So I cut out the middleman and I just go right to the 100 proof vodka so that I don't have to add any water. And you're just going to pour your vodka right over the Usnea, almost to the top. You want a little bit. Probably, I usually leave about an inch of room, because that gives you the ability to shake it up. So you're gonna put a lid on that. I also will typically put a piece of parchment paper or plastic wrap over the top of the jar and then put the lid on, and I'll do that when I get home, just so that the metal doesn't react with the alcohol. Just something I find that makes a better tasting tincture when you protect the metal from the alcohol. And then last but not least, and the most important part, one of the most important parts in my opinion, is put a label on it. Because the amount of times that I've thought I would remember what I made, mostly in the beginning stages of my herbal journey, you know, thought I'd remember what something was, didn't label it, and then you don't remember. So slap a label on that, put this in a cool, dark place, let it macerate for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you have yourself a tincture that you can then turn into a double extraction, as I explained earlier. If you have any more questions about Usnea or a double extraction or what to do, leave me a comment below. And hey, if you've ever made tincture with Usnea, if you have a fondness for Usnea, if you have uses for Usnea that you like, let me know about them, because I'm always down to share. I'm always down to learn more. And I really appreciate you guys listening and spending some time with me in the forest. Take care.